It all kicks off in a VIP delivery room where a woman is about to give birth, casually flipping through a magazine. But her patience runs out, and she yells at the nurses to get this kid out of her already, all while still reading her magazine. Suddenly, a baby's cry echoes through the place, and a staff member rushes to congratulate the grandfather. Then everyone starts congratulating Miss Liu, who thanks his guests for their kindness. He then asks a maid where Shiquan is, and she replies that the young master had some business to attend to on Earth. The boy's grandfather is furious at his own son's absence, calling him a complete deadbeat. Just then, a strange scream comes from inside the delivery room, startling everyone outside. Worried about the situation, Miss Liu stands up and asks what the heck is going on in there. Meanwhile, in the room, the mother is in shock from the bright light shining right in front of her. Upon entering the room, the grandfather and his men are completely frozen in place. The light was coming from the newborn, who was covered in yellow lightning and seemed to be having a great time with it all. The baby thinks that no one would have ever guessed a commoner would be reincarnated into this family and even awaken a divine sense. A system screen appears, informing him that the lightning-type divine sense has been activated with sea-level power. The grandfather is stunned because his grandson was just born with a power he himself could never achieve. Dropping his cane, the grandfather shouts about the unparalleled, innate divine sense his grandson possesses. The grandfather picks up his grandson and celebrates, declaring that the Liu clan has finally produced a once-in-a-generation genius. However, the baby thinks that he's going to use this chance to take everything from the clan and make sure his father never gets to reincarnate again. The maids comment on how the young master is already smiling and didn't even cry, which is a sign of a noble destiny. The elder promises to use the full power of the clan to raise the boy. The newborn, who is also our protagonist, thinks that the last 6 months since he was taken out by that scumbag have felt like a dream. 1 month after reincarnating, his mother was drinking a special tonic given to her by one of her maids. As soon as she drinks the tonic, a powerful golden light starts to glow all over her body. He gained an accelerated growth ability and reached D level, even as just an embryo. He reflects on how commoners can never match the power of the clans, and how he has already reached a level that many risk their lives to achieve. But our MC wonders what kind of ability this is, as there are no records of accelerated growth. 2 months later, he faced an absorption crisis from the mother's original embryo, but received a reward. Using his accelerated growth, he devoured the original embryo and acquired its innate lightning-type divine sense. He's thrilled to have a lightning-type divine sense, which is one of the rarest elemental abilities. The protagonist plans to use the family's best resources to nourish himself and become even stronger. 3 months later, his lightning-type divine sense had already reached the intermediate stage of power. We see high heels and women's underwear scattered on the floor of his mother's bedroom. On the bed, a couple of pairs of feet are tangled up, getting pretty cozy. We see the woman with a blonde guy while her son is still in her belly. The lover asks if she isn't scared, and the lady says her marriage is just a political arrangement. The fetus overhears the man questioning his paternity, while his mother just asks for more. The MC complains that all this commotion is messing with his energy absorption rate. So, he ends up releasing a lot of energy at once, making her complain that it burned her from the inside. At 6 months, his power hits peak D level, and he understands his mother's constitution. A handsome and serene face is watching. The man observes the woman's belly and wonders when the darn brat is going to be born. Inside the womb, the MC opens his eyes and glares at his father with a look full of hatred. Through his vision, he reflects the man's face and calls him a filthy mutt. In a flashback, we see the young man in his past life being warned about terrible beasts. One of his injured companions tells Brother Liu to get out of there as fast as he can. His friend is defeated and cries out for help while the young man just watches. Unfortunately, his friend ended up being devoured by a hideous monster while the young man watches it all happen. With a wicked smile, the traitor orders his men to feed the beast to form the spirit core. The man smirks maliciously and mockingly as he watches his victim about to be defeated. At that moment, the young man notices a giant spike coming his way, ready to strike him. His former companion impales him with a huge branch, lifting him into the air without any mercy. The protagonist looked at the wound in his chest, shocked by the betrayal he had just suffered. The scumbag starts laughing hysterically at his enemy's pathetic moment. He mocks him, saying that's what happens when someone like him overestimates his own strength. As he's thrown away, the young man accuses him of tricking him just to feed the beasts. As he's passing on, his only worry is what will happen to his younger sisters. He remembers when he said goodbye to one of them, promising he'd be home soon. Soon after, his past self grabs a weapon and gets ready to leave for a mission. The door closes, and the 3 little girls are left alone, waiting for their brother to return. Looking at the moon through the window, the girls wonder when their big brother will come back. The back in the premises, as a fetus, fills with rage and swears revenge on the one who separated him from his sisters. With his power, the fetus prepares to punch his father, who is just outside. Then the little guy lands a solid punch right in the traitor's face, catching him completely by surprise. The impact of the blow sends the man flying, and the mother is shocked by the kick she felt. The boy's father falls to the ground in immense pain, not understanding what just happened to him. The woman complains that the brat is already acting up before he's even properly born. The grandfather then orders the nurse to check what's happening inside that room. The staff member explains that the young master's talent is extraordinary, so his development is accelerated. She then reveals, startled, that the baby is about to be born and the mother is going into labor. The boy laments that before reincarnating his limit was peak DD level, and now he's close to a breakthrough. In immense pain, the mother screams for them to call the best delivery team as quickly as possible. When he turned 1 month old, the Liu family threw a grand celebration banquet. Several important families from southern Zhao arrive, bringing gifts to celebrate the newborn. During the party, the grandfather watches a violin performance with a maid by his side. Meanwhile, our 1-month-old protagonist is calmly resting in the arms of one of the maids. One of the guests congratulates Master Liu on having a grandson, but the elder seems lost in thought. A guest congratulates the boy's father while the baby stares at the man who took him down in his past life. He becomes furious seeing the enemy who separated him from his sisters and swears revenge right then and there. In his memories, he remembers his younger sisters excited about a giant birthday cake. In his past life, he was on the phone with Brother Chen, who was complaining about him being late for a mission. The young man apologizes, and the traitor thinks that he only hired him because of rumors that he needed money. The man advises him to use his brain, and the young man thanks him for the job opportunity. His sisters waited eagerly to eat the small piece of cake on the table. The older brother says goodbye to one of them, promising he had a job but would be back soon. Then he grabs his weapon, which was kept in a bag, and prepares to leave the house. The door closes, and the 3 little girls are left alone, anxiously awaiting his return. From the window, the girls watch the moon while waiting for their dear brother to come back. Elsewhere, a man approaches a glowing portal in the middle of a dark forest. Smoking a cigarette is the same one who was congratulating young Master Ji at the party. Young Master Ji, who appears to be the leader of this dangerous operation. With his subordinates by his side, young Master Ji asks how the mission is progressing. The man informs him that they've been inside for a while and the beasts should be well fed by now. Young Master Ji praises old Chen, saying he was raised well and is always very efficient. Then he turns to his female companion and says they came just for her before leaving. But the woman scoffs, saying he's just another low life from the Ji family trying to climb the ladder. With that, the group of traders approaches the portal to leave the desolate place. Meanwhile, one of our hero's companions warns him about a powerful beast nearby. The young master is surprised that someone is still alive, as he needs more food for the medicine. Old Chen says he doesn't know how that's possible since they were all just D-level soldiers. Suddenly, a very loud noise catches everyone's attention, and they all look in the same direction. The group's leader assesses the situation with a serious look. Soon after, they see that one of the beasts has a fresh wound on its leg. The monster then glares at our hero, who is standing alone in the middle of that desolate place. Despite being exhausted and injured, the young man stands firm, ready for the final battle. At that moment, one of the traders slowly approaches. Young Master Ji demands to know where that thing came from and how it dared to injure his beast. Upon seeing the survivor, young Master Ji is surprised and calls him Yi Chen. The young man turns and calls out to Brother Chen, not understanding what's happening. Ye Chen's friend asks if he brought reinforcements while the enemies flee. Back in the present, the baby vows to avenge the deep blood feud at that very moment. He extends his arms and makes baby noises at the trader, who watches him intently. The man is speechless and stammers, trying to understand what the baby wants from him. The boy's father says his son wants to be held and that this is the greatest honor of his life. With that, he picks up the baby and thanks him for the reward, while the little one pretends to cry. As soon as the man holds him, the little one starts to release a yellow energy. Then he uses his lightning-type power to give his enemy a really nasty shock. The trader screams in pain as the electric charge courses through his entire body. From the shock, he ends up dropping the baby, who falls hard onto the mansion floor. The women at the party are startled and look toward the noise. The musicians also stop playing, shocked by all the commotion. The boy's grandfather watches everything with a serious expression. With that, the boy's parents are shocked by what just happened. The little protagonist on the floor, the old man realizes he just made a mistake. The baby starts crying loudly to keep up appearances and fool everyone. The trader panics at the situation and starts breaking out in a cold sweat, terrified of what might happen. Furious, the grandfather yells at the man for daring to drop the Liu family's treasure on the floor. The coward throws himself on the floor, saying it wasn't him and that the young master acted on his own. But the baby's father doesn't believe him and kicks him hard, calling the guy a dog. The kick is so strong that the man goes flying and lands hard on the mansion floor. He starts to bow and begs his master for mercy. He swears he would never hurt the boy and offers his treasures to heal him from the fall. The little one's father seems to be enjoying the whole situation and gives a mocking smile. Then the master orders them to drag the man outside and give him a good thrashing. The traitor thanks him for the punishment while the maid picks the baby back up. In the woman's arms, the little protagonist gives an evil, satisfied smirk at the result. With a bruised forehead, the enemy stares on, confused, not understanding what happened. The little one continues to scream and cry loudly to maintain his perfect disguise in front of everyone. The old traitor is shocked again that he started crying again. The grandfather orders the maid to take the young master inside and check if he was hurt in the fall. The elder scolds his son, saying that with the family's status, they don't need a useless bum like that. With a disdainful snort, the head of the family turns and leaves the party, furious about the whole mess. The boy's father is enraged by the old man's words and clenches the glass in his hand with great force. He shatters the glass cup with his bare hands. The host turns and delivers a powerful kick right to the traitor's face. Right after, he kicks him again and orders him to be dragged outside and fed to the house dogs. The guards grab him as he begs for mercy, but no one cares about his suffering. The host tells the guests to continue the party, and the baby thinks about how to absorb more power. The doctor examined the little one and says he has an incredible physique and is perfectly fine. The grandfather laughs and celebrates that his grandson suffered no harm and is in excellent health. But the most important thing for the boy now is to find his 3 sisters he left behind. He needs to grow up fast enough to move and get that woman's essence. The baby starts crying for milk and the doctor. With that, the elder orders them to call his daughter-in-law to breastfeed him and take more spiritual medicine. The boy's mother complains that she just fed him and is already completely exhausted. The family head says she must work hard for the future of the clan and for the good of her son. The woman takes off her coat and prepares to feed the baby once more, against her will. The little one opens his mouth and starts crying as he waits to be fed by his mother. The mother picks him up and stares at him with her red eyes. She starts to breastfeed him and complains that the little rascal is sucking way too hard. Seeing that his daughter-in-law is getting weak, the grandfather orders them to bring her the tonic soup. Soon after, we see the baby taking a bath with his mother in a hot spring. The woman complains that he's been sucking for a long time and asks if she owes him something from a past life. 3 months later, the baby is already crawling around the house and his power has reached sea level. In his past life, it took him a year advance from elementary D level to intermediate. Back then, he took part in many dangerous missions in portals and suffered countless injuries. He's advanced from elementary C level to intermediate in just 3 months by drinking milk. During a family dinner, the little protagonist crawls towards the main table. Furious, the grandfather complains that some idiot wasn't watching the young master and let him run around. The maid apologizes, saying the boy crawls so fast she can't keep up with him. The baby's father jokes that his son must want milk again, and the mother looks exhausted. She complains that the boy has been on her chest for 3 months and that she needs a break. But the little one thinks he can't waste time and needs to keep getting stronger and stronger. To everyone's surprise, the baby stands up on his own for the first time. The grandfather and the butler are completely shocked to see the unbelievable sight before them. The boy starts walking towards his mother, who watches him, startled. The little one jumps on her, and the mother screams for him to let her eat a meal in peace. The maid is astonished and points out that the young master is standing and walking around the room by himself. The butler comments that the boy has a celestial constitution and his development is extraordinary. The grandfather is pleased to see his grandson can already stand and watches him with pride. Then he says that according to family rules, it's time to select a personal servant for the boy. In a dark place, the elder asks about the results, and a guard says only 2 are left. In his mother's arms, the protagonist is taken to an improvised arena for the test. He watches everything intently when he suddenly recognizes one of the candidates and is shocked. In a cell, a little girl with white hair is in a defensive stance and looks frightened. On the other side, a blonde girl charges forward, yelling to attack and defeat her opponent in the arena. Shocked, the baby wonders what she's doing there, and his body begins to glow intensely. Then he uses his lightning-type power to zap one of the fighting girls. With the force of the shock, the blonde girl goes flying and lands hard on the ground, knocked out instantly. The white-haired girl takes the chance to jump on the bread. Without a second thought, the girl grabs the bread and starts devouring it hungrily in the middle of the cell. Mother's hair is all standing on end. The protagonist panics, hoping no one noticed anything suspicious. The grandfather laughs and says his grandson has a much greater fighting spirit than his own father. The boy thinks that being a kid is useful because adults always make up excuses for him. The elder decides the little girl will be the servant and orders her to be washed and taught etiquette. The little one continues to eat ferociously, not caring about anything else around her. The baby in the crib seems very happy and calls out to his new servant with a smile on his face. Meanwhile, the butler explains that she is a death servant and must protect the young master. The little white-haired girl just nods her head, accepting her new fate. He also says she must follow the master and train in martial arts while he sleeps. With that, the little maid goes to the baby's room to start her new job. Upon arriving, the boy calls to her and points to himself with a very excited smile. But the girl pulls out a knife, and her expression changes to one full of hatred and vengeance. The baby panics and tries to speak but can't because of his vocal cords. She says she's going to take him out to avenge her older brother's passing right then and there. The girl raises the weapon and prepares to attack the little one in his crib. The servant lunges with the knife at high speed, ready to hit her defenseless target. However, the boy dodges the blow with incredible agility and jumps out of the crib. He lands on the floor, leaving behind an energy silhouette, much to the girl's surprise. Then the baby reappears beside her, leaving her completely shocked and speechless. Suddenly, the girl starts to release a green aura as she prepares to fight. The protagonist is shocked to see that the girl has a wind-type divine sense. With that, she attacks him with her wind power, but the baby uses his lightning to defend himself. The two energies clash, illuminating the entire room with their vibrant and intense colors. He thinks that using both his powers at the same time is too much for his baby body. He has a brilliant idea to resolve this complicated situation. So, the MC points and uses his Thunder Divine Sense at a very low power level. With that, a small spear of lightning hits the girl. The shock paralyzes her for a moment and she falls to the floor, unable to move properly. The little one seems relieved with the result, but is clearly very tired from the effort. Lying on the floor, the servant can still feel the electricity running through her entire body. He approaches carefully and touches the sharp blade. The little one cuts his finger on purpose, and a drop of blood appears on the tip. Then he uses his own blood to write a message on the floor for her. He thinks it's a good thing he's smart and managed to come up with this plan to communicate. Upon reading the message, the girl understands everything, and the baby opens his arms for a hug. But the girl attacks him again, and the baby remembers she can't read yet. He dodges the blow and worries, because if someone sees her trying to attack him, she'll be done for. Meanwhile, the traitor walks through the mansion holding a wooden box in his hands. In a flashback, the boy's father says that he's only alive because he's still useful to him. Lying on the floor, the man thanks the young master for his mercy and promises to work harder. The master says the grandfather is furious and that he must find a way to please the baby. The man thinks that he sold everything he had to buy a rare item at an auction. Suddenly, he hears the little master's voice and wonders what's happening in the room. With that, he opens the door and enters the room, calling for the heir of the Liu family. Upon entering, he is met with the scene of the two of them chasing each other around the room. Seeing an opportunity, the baby glares at the man with a dark look and a plan in mind. The traitor is completely confused, not understanding anything that's happening. Then the boy grabs the servant's hand and turns the knife. He uses his lightning power to give the white-haired girl a little shock on her forehead. She falls to the floor, and the baby catches the knife in mid-air, completing his perfect plan. Without hesitation, the baby stabs himself in the shoulder, and the knife becomes covered in blood. The traitor is utterly shocked by the scene and screams in terror, not believing his eyes. Next, the boy throws the bloodied knife towards the man watching him. The poor guy catches the weapon in mid-air and freezes in fear, not knowing what to do. In his shock, he ends up dropping the box he was holding. Then the little protagonist takes a deep breath, preparing for his big performance. Soon after, he starts wailing loudly on top of the fainted girl on the rug. The man holds the bloody knife, completely desperate about the whole situation. At the sound, the grandfather and the others come running to see what happened. The elder and his son stare at the scene with serious expressions. The little one keeps crying and leans on the servant to make it look like he protected her. Furious, the grandfather points at the traitor and accuses him of trying to attack his grandson. The man throws the knife on the floor and tries to defend himself, saying he wasn't the one to blame. But the father doesn't believe him and punches him for daring to hurt his son. Desperately, he explains that the girl attacked the baby and he defended himself. The baby continues his crying act while the traitor screams in desperation with a bloody nose. He swears to the elder that he's telling the truth, but no one seems to believe his story. The boy's father hits him with another punch and furiously asks where the gift is. Desperate, the man looks for the gift he dropped on the floor during all the chaos. The grandfather praises the little girl for protecting his grandson and orders her to be taken to rest. The elder places his hand on the young master's shoulder, who tenses up. The elder glares at him, his red eyes glowing intensely with rage. He says he taught his son how to raise dogs, but he almost lost the Liu family's hope. The group leaves the room, leaving the traitor kneeling on the floor, utterly terrified. The man starts to break into a cold sweat and tremble with fear of what might happen to him now. Suddenly, the baby's father turns and glares at him with a look full of hatred and contempt. He kicks him hard and says he gave him a chance, but he dared to try and hurt him anyway. The man tries to explain, but the master orders him to be dragged out and fed to the dogs. Seeing his plan succeed, the little protagonist finally sighs in relief at the outcome. With a wound on his shoulder, the little one looks at the unconscious girl on the floor, worried. Just then, the butler approaches and says he needs to take the servant to be treated immediately. But he panics when he remembers he wrote a message on the floor right under her. So the boy lies down on top of the girl and shakes his head to stop the man from taking her. The staff member then picks up the little master, lifting him off the unconscious girl. With that, the butler places him back in the crib while the boy looks very distressed. Seeing that the man is about to pick up the servant, he wonders if he should knock him out with an electric shock. Suddenly, an idea strikes him and he looks towards the maid with a new plan in mind. The staff member picks up the little girl, and a pool of blood is left on the bedroom floor. The protagonist is shocked to see that the servant is also genuinely injured. Seeing the bloodstain on the girl's clothes, the butler is also very surprised. The little one is confused by the situation and doesn't understand how she could have gotten hurt. That he takes her outside and orders the young master's room to be cleaned up. Alone in the crib, the boy sighs in relief but wonders what is going on. But he puts it aside, as he has more important things to do at that moment. He jumps out of the crib, ready for his next plan. In a massage room, a special oil is being prepared for his mother. The woman then receives a relaxing back massage from one of the housemaids. The boy's mother seems very relaxed, enjoying her rare moment of peace. But the tranquility ends when the little one calls for milk, suddenly startling her. He crawls over to her, and the woman complains that he's here again with his huge appetite. The boy begins to feed, and the mother complains, asking how long he's going to keep sucking. But he needs to speed up his growth so he can talk and explain everything to his servant. A week later, time is just flying by in the fancy Lu family mansion. And just like that, our main character now looks like a 3-year-old and has finally gotten the hang of talking. The little white-haired servant girl is still giving him some serious side eye. She's still convinced he's the one to blame for everything that went down with her older brother. So the kid turns to Yi and just drops the bomb he's her brother. The girl is like totally floored. She just freezes up and her eyes turn a deep shade of red. Then he asks her if the cake her brother bought for her was any good. That question sends her down memory lane and she starts getting super emotional. In her memories, she recalls her brother calling her and her other sisters to come eat some cake. The 3 little girls get crazy excited seeing a birthday cake right in front of them. She remembers her big brother cutting a slice of cake for his little sisters. The girl recalls him on the phone, getting orders to join his team for a mission. One of the sisters tries to snatch a piece, but another one stops her, telling her to wait for their brother. After that, the 3 little ones are at the window, watching the moon and waiting for him to come back. In that moment, the face of his old self appears reflected in the full moon, like a memory. In the moon's reflection, his old face blends with his current baby face. He looks at the little girl with a gentle smile, his eyes welling up with tears. Realizing it's him, she can't hold it in anymore and just starts crying. She collapses to the floor and starts bawling her eyes out, just wailing uncontrollably. He covers her mouth and shushes her so no one finds out their secret. With his tiny hand, he tries to muffle the girl's sobs so they don't get caught. Right after, she throws her arms around him, hugging him with all her might, feeling a mix of relief and happiness. Still crying, the little girl asks if the one in front of her is really her beloved brother. But the hug is so tight that he complains he can't breathe in his little kid body. She lets him go, and our guy is a little dizzy, trying to catch his breath. Once he recovers, he gets serious and looks at his sister, needing answers. She watches him intently, tears still streaming down her face. So he grabs her and asks how she ended up here, and where their other sisters are. With so many questions, the girl gets overwhelmed and asks her brother to slow down. Finally, the 2 of them calm down and get ready to talk about everything that's happened. The girl starts to explain that on that day, he left for a mission and just never came back. In a flashback, the 3 hungry sisters are waiting, staring at the cake he bought. One of the girls wondered why their brother was taking so long to get back. The youngest one even asks if he abandoned them, since he'd never been gone for so long. So, Yi decided to go look for him and found out about his disappearance at the mission headquarters. There, she saw another hunter's wife yelling at the traitor about her husband vanishing. The guy, having zero patience, called her crazy and shoved her away forcefully. Another hunter shows up and accuses the man of going into the portal with young Master Liu and the others. In that moment, the little servant girl understood that this man was behind everything. The traitor just watches with an annoyed look on his face, casually smoking his cigarette. He unleashes his firepower, getting ready to attack his accuser. A fireball flies toward the man, who's just frozen in fear by the attack. He takes a direct hit, and his body is completely engulfed by the intense flames. The man drops to the ground, defeated, while the others just watch the scene, doing nothing. He warns them that spreading rumors about the young master is a dumb move, since the mission was high risk. Our guy says the traitor got what was coming to him for double-crossing them, and then asks about the other girls. Hearing the question about the others, the little one's expression changes, and she looks really worried. She starts crying all over again, leaving her brother totally confused. Startled by his sister's sudden reaction, he worriedly asks what happened to them. Through her tears, the girl explains she just wanted to get revenge for her brother, but then a whole tide of demons just appeared out of nowhere. Flashback to a portal ripping open, and everyone is just scrambling for their lives as the invasion begins. The memory of that demonic tide has her absolutely petrified. She tears through the wrecked streets, frantically screaming the names of her other two sisters. Meanwhile, a couple of hunters stroll by, casually remarking that, yep, this monster wave was a pretty nasty one. She's left standing all alone, just watching as the city burns, completely obliterated. With tears streaming down her face, she runs aimlessly through all the chaos and destruction. The poor girl continues her search alone, picking her way through the rubble of the city devastated by the invasion. With her hands all scraped up, she collapses to the ground, screaming her sisters' names in absolute despair. That's when she remembers her brother, and just breaks down, sobbing and wondering where he could possibly be. Back in the present, our MC, main character, comforts his sister, telling her not to cry, because they've been given a second chance. His eyes flash red as he vows that some guy named Chen is going to be the very first to pay for this. In some dark and grimy prison, we cut to a hallway that's just splattered with stains. The traitor is locked up, screaming his head off that he's innocent and was just there to deliver a gift. Next thing you know, he's slammed against the cell bars, a look of pure terror on his face. Because surprise, a demon materializes right behind the terrified prisoner. The traitor drops to his knees, begging for his life as the creature closes in, its tongue lolling out. All we hear is a horrified scream, and suddenly, the prison hallway has a few more red stains. The traitor out of the picture, our MC declares it's time to turn the entire Liu family upside down. Tears still in her eyes, his sister agrees, promising she'll do whatever he says. That's when she remembers she has a very important mission to take care of with our MC. So, she just hoists him into the air, announcing it's bath time, but he protests, yelling that he's her brother. But the girl explains that now, she's his personal attendant, and this is her daily mission. And just like that, she starts carrying him off to the bathroom, all while he's screaming bloody murder that he absolutely, positively does not want a bath. Cut to the bathroom, where our MC is now sitting in a wash basin as she gets everything ready for his bath. She walks up to him and says it's time to get his clothes off, but our MC insists he can handle it himself. But she's not listening, and with a grin, she just eats his clothes right into the air. She looks down and chirps about how cute his little fella is. Our MC is absolutely mortified, basically dying on the inside from the sheer awkwardness of it all. Super embarrassed, he yells at her not to look, reminding her yet again that this is so not okay. She then declares that since she's bigger now, it's her turn to give him a bath. Shocked, the MC asks what in the world she's doing as she starts taking off her own clothes. The boy covers his eyes, completely embarrassed by her actions. Then she gets into the tub, wrapped in a towel, leaving the boy totally stunned. While she's washing him, she vents about how much people are suffering out there, while the rich just waste everything. Our MC gets furious and says that justice is something you have to take with your own hands. With that, his face sets into a look of fierce determination to change their reality. A moment later, the girl offers to scrub him, better, sending him into a full-blown panic. They start bickering because he refuses, but she insists she was instructed to do it. After the bath, the boy is lying on the floor while his sister puts away his clothes. He's thinking how humiliating it is to be the older brother and get treated like a little kid. The girl asks him what's wrong, but he just turns his face away, pouting, and doesn't answer. She gets sad at his attitude and complains that he's never been this mean to her before. To avoid more conversation, just lets out a sigh. But then he gets up, says he's not mad anymore, and that he has something important to ask. The girl smiles sweetly and tells him to go ahead and ask whatever he wants, no problem. So, he questions if she has awakened wind element abilities, and his sister confirms it. Our MC is floored, because the earliest recorded case of an awakening was at age 12. He wonders how she managed to pull off such a feat, being so young and with zero training. She just shakes her head and says she's not really sure how it happened either. She explains that a panel just popped up, showing her stats and guiding her to awaken her power. Our MC is completely blown away to hear the word panel coming from her. In that instant, he remembers his own system, the one that displays his thunder abilities. He glances at the interface and wonders if her dialogue box is the same kind of thing. Then he asks himself how his sister also got a panel and awakened so incredibly young. She notices he's zoned out and asks if something's wrong, but he just brushes it off. He tells her that now that she's awakened her ability, she needs to train hard to get strong. With a determined look, the little girl replies that she's going to train super hard from now on. He pats her on the head and says that out of all the sisters, she was always the most responsible one. Suddenly, they both hear a knock at their bedroom door and freeze. A maid announces that dinner is ready and that the master ordered their mother to prepare some milk for him. She hands a full baby bottle to the MC's sister, who just stares at it, surprised. She takes the bottle, and our MC walks over to her with a new plan already forming in his mind. He says they need to use every resource the Liu family has to get stronger, and fast. The girl asks how they're supposed to do that, since she's already training as hard as she can to level up. With a mischievous grin, he tells her to open her mouth and discover the secret to power. Although she's a little hesitant, the girl opens her mouth, curious about what her brother is up to. He then pops the bottle into her mouth and tells her to drink up and see what happens. Following his order, she starts drinking the milk while our MC watches her intently. All of a sudden, a purple aura starts swirling around her, and she's shocked by the sensation. Confused, she asks her brother why so much power is flowing into her body so easily. Our MC explains that their mother's unique constitution turns crystals into something like pure energy. He says it's a substance that even elite squads would have a hard time getting their hands on during missions. But their mom can produce this essence continuously, making her an endless wellspring of power. His sister is shocked, commenting that this is something unheard of at the academy. Our MC suspects that the noble families are hiding secrets and manipulating the masses into fighting their battles for them. With a determined glare, he concludes that they have to uncover every last one of these hidden secrets. His sister then offers him the bottle, telling him to drink some too so he can get stronger. But he refuses, telling her to finish it all and hit her power limit first. Then he starts walking away, his eyes fixed on his next objective. He says out loud that he's gonna go eat too, while his sister keeps drinking from the bottle. Arriving at his mother's room, the maids wonder why he's back there again. The next thing we see is the boy feeding directly from his mother in the household's pool. The woman complains that she's already provided so much milk that the little brat just eats and eats without stopping. One of the maids quickly orders the others to prepare more medicinal meals for the madam. Our MC thinks to himself that the revenge starts now, and that he and his sister are about to upend the very order of the heavens. As lightning crashes down over the mansion, he swears that he will turn the Liu family completely upside down. Our hero crawls across his bedroom floor, a determined look on his face as he searches for something. Meanwhile, we get a flashback of the traitor freaking out, screaming that the gift was in his hand as he frantically looks for it. Then our MC peeks under a piece of furniture and spots the little box the traitor dropped. With a satisfied smirk, he grabs the gift, figuring it must be something incredibly valuable to the family. He then opens the box and an intense blue light illuminates his tiny face. Inside, he finds a large blue crystal and wonders if it's a magic beast crystal. A system panel immediately pops up, informing him that it's a rare thunder element skill crystal. Our MC is confused, as he had no idea skills could be absorbed instead of cultivated. The system explains that after hunting evolved beasts, there's a chance to get these rare items. Our little guy is surprised that something like this even exists, but gets suspicious, asking how the voice knows his thoughts. In that moment, he's totally shocked, a look of pure panic on his face as he realizes what's happened. The voice says it's in his consciousness, and he scoffs, saying he knows all about these tropes from novels. He remembers that in his past life, he was a student addicted to games and web novels that had systems. In those stories, the main characters get rewards and turn the tables, getting revenge on their enemies. Furious, he yells that the system is useless, but the voice retorts that without it, he wouldn't have even been reincarnated. The MC pauses, thinks for a moment, and has to admit the mysterious voice has a point. With his arms crossed, he then questions its connection to his little sister's system. The voice denies any sort of link and urges him to get stronger and fast. He agrees and gets focused, knowing he needs to take every opportunity he can get. He then sits down on the floor and, with intense concentration, begins to absorb the crystal's energy. With that, a powerful, divine energy starts flowing through his small body. A moment later, he holds out his hand and successfully summons his new skill, Lightning Spear. He's completely floored, having just acquired a skill that should have taken 10 years to master. He feels the power condensed in the spear and wonders just how strong it really is. Without a second thought, he hurls the weapon with all his might to test out his new power. The protagonist watches as his powerful electric attack flies through the air. The sound of the explosion gets the grandfather's attention, who comes running with the butler to see what happened. But what they find is the boy's father, in his SpongeBob underwear, complaining to the MC's mom about the noise. The grandfather and the MC's little sister are completely floored by the scene. The boy looks at the giant hole he just blasted in the mansion wall with his new skill. Furious, the grandfather demands to know who did it, and the butler explains he heard a lightning bolt come from the room. But upon seeing his grandson, the old man's mood flips, and he lifts him up, celebrating his new divine skill. He then praises the boy's mother, thanking her so being productive for the family. However, the boy's father seems irritated by the whole situation and complains about the noise he made. At that, the grandfather scolds him, saying he should be proud of his son's exceptional talent. The grandfather then decides he will take his grandson to the family's annual hunting festival. A moment later, the family head asks the butler if everything is arranged for the event. The old man laughs, saying his descendants need to learn their true worth from a young age. Cradled in his mother's arms, our protagonist is annoyed, having no idea what they're planning. And so, the group walks down a long hallway toward the location of the hunting festival. Once there, the grandfather uses his energy to open a massive circular gate in front of them. The gate opens, revealing a large, swirling vortex of bright purple energy to everyone. Standing before the dimensional portal, the family head prepares to lead the group inside. The MC is stunned, realizing the Liu family can open dimensional portals all by themselves. He gets angry thinking about how many secrets the powerful hide from the weak who are just struggling to survive. The group then steps through the portal and arrives in a dense, quiet forest on the other side. While the grandfather praises him, the MC's mom complains that he never stops eating all day. Suddenly, the MC's father points to the sky and yells a warning that something is approaching. Everyone looks up to see a smoke trail closing in on them rapidly. The mysterious thing zips through the trees at incredible speed. Soon, a giant multi-headed serpent appears and brutally attacks a group of hunters. One hunter tries to strike the creature, but his weapon shatters, while another uses a force field to defend himself. When he sees a C-rank python and a B-rank python king in a C-rank portal, the protagonist and his sister are in shock, and the girl recognizes one of the hunters. Just then, one of the serpents lunges toward one of the female hunters. To everyone's surprise, the red-haired girl manages to hold the creature's mouth open with her bare hands. But she's struggling with all her might to avoid being bitten by the giant monster's sharp fangs. Even so, the serpent's strength is too great, and it knocks her away with a single blow. The hunter's leader then yells for everyone to fight as they retreat from the dangerous area. The group's leader tries to fend off the monster with a shield, but another hunter tries to attack him from behind. The red-haired girl runs and screams desperately for him to watch out. But the hunter's punch goes right through the shield, hitting the captain with full force. The force of the punch makes the hunter fighting the serpent lose his shield. At that moment, the giant serpent is struck by a purple lightning bolt coming from another hunter. Another hunter yells furiously at the traitor for attacking their captain. The traitor just smiles wickedly as he prepares to attack the other man. With a violent blow, he mercilessly attacks the hunter, leaving him gravely injured. One of the other hunters is shocked, as he seems to have recognized the attacker. He reveals that the man is Kui Sheng, a criminal who had been convicted before. Kui Sheng starts laughing like a maniac at the hunter's desperation. He then kicks the man, sending him flying with incredible force. The injured hunter soars right into the mouth of the giant serpent, which was waiting for him. Our little protagonist watches it all with a grim expression. He remembers his past life when Kui Sheng threw a friend to his doom. A splash of blood appears, symbolizing what just happened. Back then he watched his friends get taken out one by one. The monster they were feeding with their own comrades emerges, imposing and terrifying. With a cruel smile, the MC's father orders them to feed the creature to form a treasure. He then tells Kui Sheng to attack our hero's past self, without a second thought. The henchman rushes toward the young man, ready to deliver the blow. But the guy activates his power and braces for the inevitable clash with his enemy. His fist glows with a powerful energy as he closes in. Their two fists collide in a violent, power-filled impact. He tells us that Kui Sheng is like a demon who loves to crush people. It's revealed that he was protected by the Liu family and is now one of their goons. Back in the present, his sister wonders how they can possibly save the red-haired girl. But our protagonist seems to have an idea, and his eyes gleam, a plan already forming in his mind. So, he turns around and starts feeding again, which really ticks off his mom. She asks what in the world he's doing as our MC fills his mouth with milk, making a weird face. He spits everything out, leaving her completely shocked. Disgusted, she screams at our hero for getting her all messy and just eats him into the air. Seeing the commotion, the boy's grandpa gets this furious look on his face because of the whole mess. Right after MC's little sister leaps into action. And just like that, she catches our hero mid-air, saving him from the fall. The girl lands safely on the ground, holding her little brother carefully in her arms. She asks if her brother is okay, and he explains his master plan: create chaos to save the hunter. Suddenly, our young man's father slaps his wife hard across the face, leaving her completely stunned. He then grabs her firmly and scolds her for being so careless with their son. Furious, the woman says that not even her own parents ever dared to lay a finger on her, and she gets incredibly angry. With that, she summons an ice weapon and goes right after her husband, looking for revenge. The man defends himself with his powers, saying she needs to be taught a lesson for her audacity. The kids watch intently as the fight unfolds right in front of them. The mother and father clash with their abilities, but a burst of energy suddenly appears between them. The boy's grandfather shows up, and the MC's parents just stare at him. The grandfather says that as a mother, she must put her son first and not be so reckless. With a furious glare, he tells them they both carry the responsibility for both of their families. At that, the couple calms down and dismisses their weapons, while the children watch from a distance. The MC's sister asks what they'll do now, but he tells her not to worry because they are coming. Suddenly, the young maid hears a strange noise. The butler informs the grandfather that he sensed movement coming from the nearby woods. The family also notices something approaching and goes on high alert. Just then, 3 goblins emerge from the forest with some really weird expressions on their faces. From a higher vantage point, we see the goblins starting to close in on the MC's family. The creatures start screaming desperately, as if they're gearing up for a battle. Next thing you know, the 3 monsters are impaled by wooden stakes that pierce right through them mercilessly. The MC's father wonders how this is possible, since the area was supposed to have been cleared beforehand. The grandfather complains, "This is what happens when all you know is how to cause trouble in bars instead of hitting the books." Just then, the boy's mother starts to glow with a purple energy. The little sister explains that their mother's essence attracts demonic beasts, especially high-level ones. With that, the sounds of many goblin feet start getting closer, putting the group on edge. Then a horde of elite goblins appears before them, led by a B rank. One of the monsters leaps toward the family, its axe ready to strike without mercy. Unfazed, the grandfather orders his subordinates to handle the situation immediately. And just like that, the family starts fighting the monsters using their powerful elemental abilities. Taking advantage of all the chaos, our MC tells his sister it's time for them to get out of there. So, the girl runs towards a cliff with her little brother in her arms. Without a second thought, the MC's sister jumps off the cliff, plummeting at high speed with our young hero. In that instant, the girl's eyes glow intensely as she activates her special ability. Using her wind power, she begins to fly through the skies, carrying her brother to safety. Our MC asks when she learned to fly, and she says it was a reward from the system. Surprised by this revelation, our MC gets flustered and asks what kind of task it was. The girl reveals with a smile that the system's task was simply to give her brother a bath. In a flashback, we see that upon completing the mission, she received the rare flight technique as a reward. Our MC gets annoyed, wondering how a system could give such an awesome reward for such a silly task. The MC's little redhead sister is fighting bravely against a serpent, striking it with her sharp sword. But then, another enormous serpent appears and attacks the other hunters, shattering their shields with ease. With one powerful strike, the creature sends one of the hunters flying, completely breaking her guard. Down on the ground, the woman desperately yells to her captain that they can't keep fighting anymore. The group's captain then confronts Kuixiong, asking why he's attacking them like this. With a wicked smile, the traitor says he enjoys hearing the screams of his victims. The leader asks who his master is and says that violating the guild's agreement is against the law. The villain replies that laws are only for the weak and for commoners like them, and that he couldn't care less. Right after, he rushes towards the captain at high speed, ready to land a blow. But instead, he attacks one of the female hunters, catching her off guard with his incredible speed. Defeated, the woman begs her captain to save her from this terrible, heartless man. Without any mercy, the traitor tosses her directly into the giant serpent's mouth as a snack. The giant serpent devours the hunter without a shred of pity, right in front of everyone. In despair, the captain yells that the mission has failed and tells everyone to run for their lives. The redhead girl is paralyzed with fear and shock from the horrific scene she just witnessed. Blinded by rage, the group leader charges forward with his sword, screaming that he's going to finish the traitor. He unleashes a powerful strike, but the villain moves quickly and dodges the attack with ease. In an instant, the traitor counter-attacks and lands a direct hit on the captain. Seeing her leader wounded, the young woman calls the man a monster and prepares to fight. She then throws an object at the enemy, trying to buy some time. But the traitor doesn't even flinch, since the rock the girl threw does nothing to him. The blow just rips a part of the traitor's shirt. The villain says it's a shame they ran into him here, because they are all going to perish. He leaps towards the girl, his sharp claws ready to strike. Terrified, the young woman is surrounded by the shards of a shattered sword. At the last second, the captain throws himself in front of her, taking the fatal blow in her place. The leader falls lifeless to the ground as the traitor simply ignores him and moves on. The traitor tosses the captain's body, which is then devoured by the giant serpent. Desperate, the girl screams in terror at the horrifying scene she just witnessed. We see the giant serpent devouring the captain as purple lightning arcs from its body. The villain looks at the girl and says it's a shame, because he wanted to add her to his collection. He wanted to turn her into one of his specimens, to display her like a trophy. With his blood-stained hand, he prepares to attack the girl. The villain then places his hand on her face as she cries, completely desperate. In her final moments, the girl cries out for her siblings, wondering where they are. Suddenly, a giant lightning sword appears, and a voice says they've arrived to save her. The traitor turns and manages to block the powerful attack with his arm. The strike causes a burst of yellow energy, but the villain just swats it away. The young woman looks up in surprise and calls out her sister's name, Wei Yi. Just then, our MC and his sister land on the ground, ready for battle. The girl recognizes the MC's former appearance and calls him brother. Our MC tells his sister he'll explain everything later, but right now, they've got bigger fish to fry. Meanwhile, the red-haired girl is just watching him with this "what in the world is happening?" look on her face. Facing the serpent, our hero realizes the beast has evolved by munching on awakeners, something that's never been recorded before. At the same time, the villain looks like he's breaking free from something as this intense yellow energy swirls around him. With a final push, he unleashes all his power at once, shattering whatever was holding him back in an instant. The baddie then glares at them and scoffs, asking if it isn't the young master and his little servant girl. And just like that, the trio of siblings faces their opponent, ready for the fight that's about to go down. The redhead asks, totally confused, how they knew about her and why they had the other little girl with them. But the bad guy just ignores her question and starts plotting how he's going to handle this new situation. Our MC then realizes his enemy isn't some brain-dead goon, but actually a pretty sharp cookie. The man reveals his master plan, turn the servant girl into a mindless puppet, and deliver our MC to his boss. We then see the aftermath of the villain's power, having taken down several hunters without mercy. Multiple weapons made of red energy appear hovering over the defeated hunters. Revealed that the enemy has a metal-type power, allowing him to merge weapons with his own body. Our protagonist then analyzes their power levels and realizes the gap between them is just massive. But then an idea sparks in our protagonist's mind and his eyes light up. He turns to his sisters and tells them to listen carefully and follow his lead. On the other side, the adversary gets ready to fight as a strange energy radiates from him. The villain launches a lightning-fast attack with his claws, aimed straight at our MC. Seeing the danger, his sisters jump back, and he prepares to counter. He then activates his Divine Lightning-type awakening, unleashing an immense yellow energy. Our protagonist uses his power to dodge the villain's attacks at super speed. The villain is floored when he sees the kid's technique, recognizing it as a forbidden move. He then remembers that a while back, he defeated someone who used that exact same technique. In his memories, he recalls the showdown against our protagonist's past life. Connecting the dots, he realizes who the kid is and starts laughing at the insane coincidence. However, our MC's child-sized body can't handle that much power and begins to fail. Knowing he only has one shot, he yells his sisters' names to kick off the real plan. The villain hears a noise and whips his head toward the sound. In that moment, the red-haired sister appears, holding a giant boulder, ready to crush the enemy. Without a second thought, the girl hurls the massive rock right at the villain. But the enemy dodges the attack with ease, and the boulder shatters on the ground from the impact. He then notices a weird sound and a trail of green energy moving quickly across the ground. The man immediately goes on high alert, seeing the energy coming his way, ready for anything. Suddenly, a gigantic storm of wind and dust forms right in front of him. The one behind this attack is the other sister, using her wind ability. Even inside the tornado, the adversary is completely unfazed, saying these are just cheap tricks. Seizing the distraction, our protagonist focuses his power and creates a full-strength lightning spear. Using a divine martial arts technique, he throws the weapon with every ounce of strength his body has left. The villain spins around, surprised, and curses our MC for being so crafty as he braces for the hit. The lightning spear strikes the bad guy square in the head, severely injuring him on impact. The attack is so powerful it goes straight through the adversary and continues its path up into the sky. The spear's energy causes a massive explosion, leaving a trail of destruction in the forest. Exhausted, our MC collapses, and his sister immediately starts chewing him out for using such a reckless move. With that, both girls watch over him, super worried about his condition after he pushed himself so hard. Even though he's injured, the villain just smiles and says as it doesn't matter, because he's going to protect the young master from the two little girls. With a creepy grin, he reveals a sharp blade, ready to go all out again. Wasting no time, he dashes toward the two girls at high speed to finish them off. The servant girl yells a warning and leaps in front of the redhead to shield her from the enemy's incoming attack. With a brutal blow, he lands a direct hit on the white-haired girl with incredible force. The impact sends her flying, and she ends up slamming hard against a tree. The villain then stares down the other young woman and tells her not to worry, her turn is coming right up. He morphs his hands into sharp blades and prepares for his next merciless attack. With his blades, he pins the young woman down and tells her to be good bait for his plans. But a yellow bolt of lightning zaps in and deflects the attack, saving the girl at the very last second. The enemy then takes aim at the protagonist, ready to run him through with his small dagger. He grips the weapon tightly and brings it down, fully intending to end the boy right there. The blade then pierces our MC's back, injuring him badly. The villain sends him flying while the red-haired sister watches in complete despair. The girl then manages to break free, grabs her injured brother, and makes a run for it. The villain clenches his fist, asking why our MC is in such a hurry to meet his maker. But our protagonist, cradled in his sister's arms, replies that actually the enemy is the one about to be taken down. With his eye bleeding, the adversary is furious at the little kid's nerve. Suddenly, a figure appears in the sky, yelling and calling him an ungrateful mutt for daring to attack his master. This is our MC's grandfather, who is glaring at him with eyes of pure rage. The villain then understands that the earlier flashy attack was actually a signal to get the family's attention. Just smiles, confirming the clever plan he cooked up. Flashing back a bit, the family arrives at the fight's location, and the butler says the young master is gone. The father complains that the kid can already walk, and the butler informs him that the servant girl has also vanished. Furious, the head of the family yells at his men to hurry up and find the two of them. Just then, they spot the trail of light from our MC's attack and know exactly where to go. The grandfather then uses his lightning power and flies at top speed toward the signal. Arriving on the scene, the grandfather immediately sizes up the situation, and the villain starts to panic. He then thinks his only chance is to capture the protagonist to use as a hostage. He charges full speed at the siblings to try and grab them. But the red-haired sister whips out a staff and prepares to counter-attack to protect her brother. She unleashes a powerful blow on the enemy, who totally wasn't expecting that. The man is stunned by the girl's attack and glares at her with pure rage. All of a sudden, the protagonist's father appears, furious, and calls the villain useless for his failures. He then attacks the villain, who tries to flee, claiming none of it was his fault. However, the man ends up cornered by one of the area's giant beasts with nowhere left to run. Without mercy, the creature attacks him all at once, giving him zero chance to escape. After that, the serpent begins to evolve, transforming into a mighty golden creature. The butler rushes over to the children and says that our MC is okay, despite the wound he took. The grandfather praises the girls and says the serpent is now ready for them to harvest its rare treasure. And that's when it hits him: the noble families are using civilians to feed and evolve these beasts. With that, the grandfather and his son prepare to face the powerful golden creature that has emerged. The clash between them then generates a gigantic explosion of red energy throughout the forest. The clash between them sets off a gigantic explosion of red energy that rips through the entire forest. Out of the smoke, two figures emerge as the kids watch everything unfold from a safe distance. Our hero then puts two and two together. The noble families are using civilians to feed and level up these beasts. Right after Grandpa and Dad get ready to throw down with the powerful golden creature that just appeared. He then mentions this harvest was way better than what he was expecting to get that day. Grandpa orders the butler to take the two girls to collect the remaining materials for the warehouse. In his head, the old geezer is already scheming to mix the crummy items with scrap to sell off to the average Joe hunters. And for the high-quality items, he wants to jack up the prices and make the frontline squads pay through the nose. He then hands over the poison sack for his son to use and create some important new connections. All the while, our guy's dad just watches with a sly grin plastered on his face. Grandpa hands over the silver snake's horn to be taken to the auction house. As for the scales, he says he's going to turn them into protective treasures for his precious grandson. Hearing all this, our protagonist is left with a baffled look on his face, completely confused by their actions. With that, the butler bows before his master and agrees to follow all of his orders. However, the kid's dad steps in and asks his father to hand over the Snake King's essence. Grandpa grumbles, saying he has an excellent wife and that it would be better for her son to share with him. Just then, the protagonist's mother approaches, while his sisters watch from the background. Our hero's dad is shocked by her presence and just stares, unable to react. His expression then shifts to anger, and he grits his teeth hard. In his sister's arms, the protagonist looks back and stares at the man with a very serious expression. Grandpa then tosses the snake essence to the butler, who catches it out of the air with ease. Holding the energy sphere, the butler is amazed by the power it's currently radiating. The head of the family says his eldest son is evolving and that this will come in handy. Kneeling, the butler thanks him for his generosity and pledges eternal loyalty to the family. A few days go by, and we see the luxurious Luclan mansion under a starry night sky. In the room, our hero holds a pendant while his sister informs him that Shuang is now his maid. And just like that, the two sisters appear dressed in maid uniforms and smile at him. He then looks at the pendant, and a system prompt informs him he's received a rank A defensive item. Seeing his expression, one of the girls asks with concern what's wrong with her brother. Suddenly, the boy's eyes glow, and he zaps the pendant with his lightning power. He's using his lightning ability to try and supercharge the pendant. Huge blast of yellow energy then shoots out from his bedroom window. The two sisters stare at our hero, completely shocked by the display of power. Even with the electrical discharge, the pendant remains completely intact without a single scratch. He thinks to himself that this little experiment confirmed that beasts evolve if they devour awakened ones. Our protagonist understands that the noble families use regular people as bait for their schemes. This way, they get their hands on powerful resources and gear that the weak would never have access to. But what they teach at the academy is that the nobles risk their lives to protect the powerless. Remembering all this hypocrisy, our protagonist gets furious and clenches his fists. The sisters then ask if information is really that powerful. He turns and explains that he's only now starting to understand how dangerous a lack of information is. He then says that from now on, they must use the Liu family to gather more intel. With a determined look, the two girls agree to follow their younger brother's plan. A moment hero asks Shuang why she was with that divine team. She hesitates to answer, and the other sister chimes in that she wants to know why her own power is so strong. The red-headed sister is left speechless, and the other just stares at her intently. Then the protagonist asks about the other sister named San San, and the young woman tenses up. Upon hearing the other girl's name, the young woman is completely in shock. With tears in her eyes, she tries to explain what happened to San San. She then collapses to the floor and begins to cry her eyes out, unable to stop. At that, the protagonist covers her mouth and warns her that you can't cry loudly there. After calming down, she sits on the bed, still very shaken by the situation. She starts to explain that on that day, Yi went out to look for their brother and never came back. In a flashback, we see a hungry little Shuang staring at a piece of cake. Her hand reaches out to grab the cherry on top of the cake. She has a sad look on her face, waiting for her siblings to come home. She then decides to go look for her brother and Yi so they can come home sooner. So, Shuang starts searching through the dark house, calling out San San's name. Scared, she runs down the dark hallway and asks her sister to stop playing around. Back in the present, the boy is shocked to learn that San San ran away from home. She explains that from the rooftop she saw that the beast tide was caused by a bad person. Our hero asks if the beast tide isn't supposed to be an uncontrollable natural disaster. In her memories, she was desperately searching for San San across the city's rooftops. She was then trying to open a door, begging for the little one to get out of there quickly. Just then she looks to the side with an expression of pure fear and worry. On the rooftop, she spotted a mysterious man holding a staff under the full moon. The man's face was hidden in the shadows, but his eyes glowed with an intense red light. He then raised his staff, which began to glow with a powerful energy. With that, he slammed the staff on the ground, releasing a massive wave of energy. An enormous red magic circle then formed on the ground, illuminating the entire area. The circle then shot a beam of red light that ascended toward the dark sky. The beam tore a hole in the sky, creating a red portal. A giant reptilian eye appeared in the portal, and Shuang was utterly terrified. A moment later, the mysterious red portal simply materialized in the night sky, and from it emerged several red demonic beasts, ready to wreak havoc on the city. With tears in her eyes, Shuang is completely terrified just remembering that scene. In her memories, she was all alone and surrounded by enormous red demonic beasts. From the portal in the sky, countless creatures poured out, attacking everyone in sight. She explained she was being chased by a demon wolf when a panel appeared. The system then notified her that she had awakened a divine power of body cultivation. Following the system's orders, she made an incredible leap between two buildings to escape. Back in the present, she tells them she ran until she found the subjugation team that took her in. Our protagonist is stunned that another system has appeared and by all the miracles happening to them. Yi says that if they all have systems, San San might have one too and could still be alive. Our hero agrees and says they will use the Liu family's network to find clues about her. Suddenly, Shuang says she received a task from the system with a reward. Without any warning, she scoops her brother up in her arms, leaving him completely surprised. He's terrified and wonders if that is going to happen to him again. The two sisters run off excitedly because the system's mission is to give their brother a bath once more. The two sisters are excitedly running through the mansion with our MC, who's yelling his head off about their wacky system. And just like that, they reach a massive, luxurious bathroom to start the mission they were given. The redhead then lifts our little guy into the air, commenting on how cute he is, while the other one totally agrees. His sister keeps up the teasing, seeming to find the whole situation pretty hilarious. This leaves our boy completely mortified, and he starts screaming his lungs out from sheer embarrassment. Now in the tub, one of the sisters washes his hair while the other watches him with a smile. The two of them seem to be having a blast, splashing water everywhere during the young master's bath time. After the bath, they hold him and comment on what a good little boy he was, but he complains that they've changed. Suddenly, the red-haired sister stops dead in her tracks, a very nervous expression washing over her face. Seeing her reaction, our MC worriedly asks what happened to make her look like that. She then points with a terrified look on her face, revealing that the beast tide was caused by that person. The protagonist and his other sister are completely floored by the revelation they just heard. Elsewhere, we see the butler walking alongside a man with a scar on his face. Zooming in, we get a better look at the man's face, which has a very serious and intimidating gaze. In a flashback, the girl sees the same man on a rooftop, using a staff to create the beast tide. In her memory, the man creates an enormous red magic circle that tears open the sky. From this portal, a giant reptilian eye appears, leaving the girl absolutely terrified. So, our MC declares that he's the son of the future family head and tells them not to freak out. With that, the three of them continue down the hall, while the two men walk further ahead. Our MC glares at them with a serious and suspicious expression as they pass by. As they walk past him, the red-haired sister gets extremely nervous and can't hide her fear. The man with the scar notices the girl's reaction, but doesn't say a single word. Getting closer, the two sisters greet the butler with forced smiles on their faces. The butler then bows to our MC, addressing him respectfully as, "Well, master." The protagonist watches the two of them walk away down the hall with a very stern look. They arrive at a door, and the butler announces that Joe King has returned to see the master of the house. Our MC realizes it's the meeting room and decides to eavesdrop on their conversation. His sister gets worried and asks if they won't be discovered there. But he tells her not to worry, seeming to have a plan in mind for this. With the plan in motion, they sneak closer to the door. The protagonist then bursts into the room with his sisters, and a guard yells that he can't go in. Inside, his grandfather is sitting at his desk with the two men, who look at the scene in surprise. The sisters bow and apologize desperately, saying they couldn't hold the MC back. But the little guy ignores all of it and runs with his arms wide open, calling for his grandpa. The head of the family dismisses the others and tells his grandson to come to him with a smile. With our MC on his lap, he talks about the family's power and asks about the new beast tides. The butler and the man with the scar listen attentively to the master's orders. The man then reports that they have already found new groups of beasts and could attack at any moment. Hearing this, our young hero gets furious, realizing the academy is lying and sending students straight into a danger zone. In a flashback, we see a teacher saying that the tides are a natural disaster and that the awakened are protectors. The butler says he has already made arrangements for the guild to post missions with high rewards, attracting many teams. The grandfather praises the man, saying his family has served theirs for 3 generations, and he is very pleased with that. The butler then makes a gesture to the man with the scar, who seems to get the message immediately. Without a second thought, the man kneels on the floor and says it's an honor to work for the Liu family. The butler thanks him for the gift that helped his son reach peak B rank and expresses his gratitude for the master's kindness. The family head smiles and orders them to proceed with the beast tide plan as they had arranged. The man remains kneeling and accepts his master's order without question. The grandfather also orders them to prepare expensive equipment and entertainment services for the survivors. See a flashback of a guy who looks like a younger version of our MC's grandpa, chilling in a hot spring with several girls while a maid watches from a distance. The butler bows before his master and accepts all the given orders without hesitation. Night falls and we see the enormous and luxurious Liu family mansion under the moonlight. Back in the room, our MC explains the family's plan to his sisters to open portals and use people as bait. He says they use the awakened to fight the beasts, allowing them to gather tons of valuable resources. His sister is outraged and asks how they can be so cruel, wondering if those people aren't considered human. Our MC then explains that to the nobles they are the only humans and everyone else is just livestock. The red-haired sister suggests telling everyone about the plan, but our young man cuts her off. He says that even if they tell the truth, nobody will believe them. This leaves the two of them worried, and they ask their brother what they should do now. Our MC then declares that they are going to take down the Liu family's goons and stop the beast tide. He then calls his two sisters closer to him to explain the plan. The two girls lean in to hear what he has to say. Whispering, he tells them his plan, and they listen with full attention. The boy asks if they understood everything, and the two of them nod in confirmation. But they're still worried, asking if they can really defeat such a strong enemy. Our MC says they have 3 weeks to prepare since the plan kicks off at the end of the month. He holds up his baby bottle and says they need to power up, but his sister is totally confused about how. In that moment, our young hero and his white-haired sister exchange a knowing glance. Without waiting, he puts the baby bottle in the other sister's mouth, who is taken by surprise. She drinks the milk and is shocked to feel her power skyrocketing without even training. Our MC then runs off, saying he's going to get a bite to eat too while they finish the milk. The MC's mother is meditating peacefully when she's suddenly interrupted by her son. She then complains that his appetite just keeps growing, calling him a little brat for never being satisfied. 3 weeks later, our MC wonders if he's hit his limit while looking at a system screen. The system informs him about a new skill, and he wonders if he can be reborn into a host. He considers if he can recover to his current state without having to, spend another 9 months in the womb. Furthermore, our young man realizes he can use his new skill as an attack method. An illustration shows how his new technique can be used to directly attack his enemies. Just then, his sisters burst through the door excitedly, saying that everything is all set. Gathered in the room, the 3 siblings begin to discuss their plan to stop the approaching enemies. In another scene, the white-haired sister whispers that she's already dug up everything on the man named Jo Chung. She reveals that he's a divine awakening master and one of the top graduates from his academy class. Then, another maid tells them to keep it down, warning them about the danger that man represents. Back in the siblings' meeting, the red-haired sister chimes in, saying she's also uncovered some important intel on him. Apparently, the Lord gave him a high-level life essence, pushing him to the peak of B rank. Hearing this, the youngest sister realizes he's much stronger than the last enemy they faced together. The MC then assesses his own power, noting that he's only just reached the initial stage of C rank. He mentions that Shuang hit the peak of D rank in 3 weeks, but even together, they still don't stand a chance. But the redhead perks up, telling them not to worry because she unlocked a new skill after giving him a bath. Both sisters get super excited and ask what kind of power she managed to awaken. With a smug grin, the girl says her new technique has a really cool and epic name. She then strikes a pose and yells that the skill's name is Bloodthirsty Rush. Haired sister is impressed by the name, while the MC looks a little embarrassed. Confidently, she explains that the technique makes her 5 times stronger for 30 seconds. She brags that with her new power, 1 punch will be enough to send the enemy flying to the other side of the planet. Fired up, she starts shadowboxing while her other sister claps enthusiastically. The MC cracks a confident smirk. He already has an idea for the plan, but he can't help but wonder why the system gave them such awesome skills just for bathing him. Still, he's worried because their power might not be enough to defeat the enemy. Seeing her brother's concern, the redhead asks what kind of information he managed to gather for the plan. The MC then flashes a very cocky grin before revealing his big secret. He says his intel is crucial and that he discovered the enemy will be active in the city at 1 in the morning. We then see that the MC overheard the man with the scar telling his grandfather that everything is ready for his 1 a.m. attack. Upon hearing this, the red-haired sister is completely floored by the revelation. She starts to panic, saying that's exactly where her Divine Awakening group's base is located. She then yells that the commander is in danger and bolts to warn the others about the attack. But our young hero stops her, grabbing her arm and using a bit of his lightning power to hold her back. He then tells her not to be so hasty, as they still have time to act and save everyone. With a determined look, he states that he already has a plan to defeat Jo Chung. Both sis get super excited, asking if he really has a plan already. Our young hero then leans in and starts whispering the details of his secret strategy. He says with confidence that they have more than enough time, and that tonight, they will take down Jo Chung. Both sisters nod in agreement, ready for the mission. Night falls over the city, and a full moon lights up the scene for the operation that's about to begin. The clock on the wall strikes midnight, indicating that the time for the ambush is drawing near. Dressed in black gear and masks, the 3 siblings prepare to start the operation. Someone mentions that the enemy has a powerful skill called Divine Whip. This technique allows him to transform his arms into whips, combining it with his body enhancement. With this power, he's capable of shattering even the toughest metal armor. Our trio of heroes then leaps from a rooftop, beginning their nighttime infiltration. They soar through the night sky with the full moon in the background. Descending toward a building, one of them reports that they found a signal, and that the target is there. The white-haired sister thanks her comrades from the pomegranate group for saving them some time. Looking down, they spot the building where a light is shining, indicating the enemy's location. Scurrying along the side of the building, the trio stealthily approaches their target. They then duck behind a wall and observe the enemy from a distance. On the rooftop, the man holds a staff that glows with a red energy. One of the sisters gets ready to attack, but the MC stops her, telling her to be calm and patient. The villain then begins to concentrate a massive amount of power into his staff. As he does, red lightning crackles from the weapon as he prepares to unleash all its energy. Seeing the perfect opportunity, the MC yells for his sisters to attack now. With that, the redhead punches the ground, ripping out a huge chunk of concrete from the floor. She hurls the slab with all her might toward their opponent. The man easily dodges the attack, but the rock still grazes his face. The impact of the blow leaves him stunned for a brief moment. Furious about a surprise attack, he shouts, asking who dares to strike him. He glares at the hole the projectile left in the wall behind him. At that moment, the other sister takes advantage of the distraction to snatch the enemy's staff. Realizing what happened, the villain whips around furious and prepares to attack the girl. The villain then uses his Divine Whip ability, striking with his transformed arm. The elongated limb shoots toward the girl at high speed, but she uses her leg to deflect the blow and the staff to vault away from him. With that, the sister hurls the weapon away from the enemy with all her strength. The adversary turns and sees the staff flying through the air. The villain uses his Divine Whip ability to try and retrieve his weapon. Suddenly, a yellow bolt of lightning appears, hurtling toward the villain with immense power. The man panics, realizing it's too late to escape the attack. Then the lightning scores a direct hit, causing a massive explosion of energy. Seeing the result, the MC tells his sister that they got a clean hit on him. But the enemy emerges from the smoke, his arm completely scorched, and screams at them in a rage. The MC and his sister are completely shocked to see that he survived the attack. The villain threatens them, saying he'll make them regret the day they were born. Without wasting a second, the adversary leaps toward the trio, ready for a fight. Our young hero then slides back and yells for his sisters to switch to Plan B. Holding the enemy's weapon, the white-haired sister readies herself for the next move. She then spins the staff with immense force, preparing for the next part of the plan. At that moment, she tosses the staff toward her brother. The MC catches the staff just as the redhead and the villain face off, unleashing their combat auras. The siblings jump right into the fray to rescue the red-headed huntress, who was in some serious trouble with a bunch of monsters. The girl starts to match the man's strength, going toe-to-toe with him. He's blown away by the girl's power and wonders who these kids are to be so strong at such a young age. However, Kuong isn't fazed in the slightest. Just then, our main character whips out the red scepter and preps a seriously powerful skill. Then, the little guy summons a massive bolt of lightning from the heavens, crackling with devastating and overwhelming energy. The traitor is totally clueless about what's happening and wonders what in the world that bizarre skill is. With that, a red portal rips open in the sky, and demonic claws start reaching out from it. The boy spots the danger and screams for everyone to get out of there immediately before it's too late. Kuang then shoves the girl, sending her tumbling to the ground. Right after, our hero hurls a baby bottle, sending it flying straight at the henchman. The man blocks the bottle, but it bursts on impact, completely drenching him in milk. Kuang is just baffled, trying to process why he was just attacked with a baby bottle. A red beast appears, and the villain laughs, saying they helped him finish his mission like a bunch of chumps. But up in the sky, a yellow light begins to glow, and the traitor looks up, intrigued. Suddenly, a beam of golden energy zips by and strikes the beast that had just bitten Kuang. But he easily shakes the beast off. Kuang says that since they helped him complete his mission, he'll be on his way. Just then, the man realizes he's walked right into a trap as blue energy arrows start flying toward him. A pack of red wolves also charges in his direction. The traitor then scoffs, asking if they really think this is enough to stop him. With that, the wolves pounce on him while he's busy dodging the energy arrows. Our main character just stands there watching as the henchman closes in for a direct attack. The two girls look on worried. Kuang dashes forward at high speed to attack our boy, with the wolves hot on his heels. Over our boy. The enemy laughs and says the kid can't fool him with such a pathetic trick. Kuang had led the pack right towards our boy. The girls scream in despair for their brother, who's about to be mauled by the animals. But our hero shouts for them not to come any closer and to stay clear of the fight. The villain is intrigued when he hears the boy's voice, wondering where he's heard it before. At that, he turns to look at the little guy, trying to place that familiar voice. The traitor is absolutely stunned when he finally recognizes the main character's voice. And just like that, the wolves ignore the boy and leap straight for Kuang. Kuang screams, asking why the wolves are only chasing him and not the kid too. Kuang then summons a purple energy shield to defend himself and fight back against the wolves. The wolves attack and he defends himself. However, there are just too many of them, and things get more and more complicated. Until the monsters finally took him down. The small main character pulls his scepter from the ground. The red lightning in the sky vanishes, and on the ground, all that's left are the remains of Kuang for the wolves to clean up. The sisters run over, worried, calling out to our boy, who is completely exhausted. At that moment, the pack of red wolves turns its attention to our boy. The two girls immediately jump in front of the little guy to protect him. They tell their brother to leave the rest to them. The sister in red shouts excitedly, calling out for the vice captain who has just arrived to help. From above, a woman with purple hair descends with her team, ready for combat. Our boy says with relief that the mission is complete and they can finally go home. The next day, at a luxurious mansion, someone is screaming their head off. Grandpa is on his feet, fuming, while another gentleman is kneeling. The servant is in tears, begging our boy's grandpa for forgiveness, saying they failed in their duties. The boss yells that Zhou Qing ruined everything at a critical moment, making him even more furious. The butler asks the master to calm down, saying he will investigate everything and provide an explanation. With a trembling hand, the older man seems to relax a bit, but he's still incredibly ticked off. The master says the Liu family will avenge his son's fall, and that he will not forgive the traitor. The servant thanks the boss and promises he will do everything to find out who is behind the attack. Just then, a woman opens the door and calls for the butler, who is still kneeling on the floor. Our boy's mother complains that the baby is hungrier than before and that she had plans to go shopping. Grandpa laughs and says it's normal for him to eat more since he's a growing boy. He continues, saying the little boy is the hope for both families' futures. Grandpa then mentions that a few families have asked to arrange a marriage for the child. The mother is surprised, wondering how her son is already so popular with the other families. Grandpa explains that the boy's reputation has spread and that he must deal with this matter as soon as possible. The main character is shocked, wondering what kind of weird marriage scheme this is. The two girls overhear the conversation and are stunned by the news of their brother's engagement. Our little guy closes his eyes and nods, confirming that what they heard is true. The sisters don't seem too happy about the news of him getting engaged. The white-haired girl asks if he's going to marry the descendants of those bad guys. Our boy smiles and says he'd never abandon them, and that he doesn't want those spoiled brats around anyway. The girls smile, relieved and happy to hear his promise. Outside, noble families arrive at the mansion, bringing gifts for the engagement. The butler organizes the preparations, giving orders to ensure everything is perfect for the event. The main character's mother complains to Grandpa, saying the butler could have handled everything himself. The head grandpa says his own useless son can't manage these affairs, so she needs to learn how to be the matriarch. At that moment, a maid hurries down the hallway towards the butler. The young woman approaches the servant and whispers in his ear. The butler rushes over to his grandpa, who is seated. The servant then leans in and whispers in the boss's ear about what he just found out. Grandpa's expression turns serious and thoughtful. He then stands up and invites his daughter-in-law to come in and join the engagement meeting. The woman walks in holding our boy in her arms. The butler announces that a sealed letter from the second young master has arrived, straight from the imperial capital. With a serious look on his face, the MC's grandfather takes the correspondence. He then hands the letter to our protagonist's mom, who's holding him in her lap. Our hero thinks to himself that sealed letters are how noble families pass along important information. He then reaches out for the letter, making little baby noises. He gathers that the higher-ups want to make a move on the Ling family, but our little guy couldn't care less. He lunges toward his mom, ready for more milk. She chides him, telling him to eat more slowly as she holds him tight. The elder ignores the scene and asks his daughter-in-law for her take on the letter's contents. She wonders why the higher-ups are suddenly interested in the Ling family, especially since they're already on the decline. The family head just smiles, saying they made a mistake, and now their businesses are ripe for the picking. He then orders that the Ling family's marriage proposal party is not to return. We see our young man giving his bottle to his red-headed sister. Just then, his other sister runs into the room, calling out for both of them. Startled, the bottle goes flying, splashing milk all over the red-haired sister. He quickly shoves the bottle into his other sister's mouth. He then asks why she's so worked up and tells her to drink some milk to recover. The sister drinks with a satisfied look on her face. She then hands the bottle back to her brother, saying she saw Sanson. The protagonist is shocked and asks where she is. The sister replies that she's at the Ling family's marriage proposal party. Then, in a flashback, the older sister, who is serving at the event, notices that the Ling family has just arrived. She sees their carriage pulling up, and one of the girls gets ready to serve. Young Sanson is inside the carriage, wearing a maid's dress. The protagonist is stunned when he hears the Ling family's name. Seeing their brother's reaction, the two girls ask him what's wrong. Our hero angrily says that the Liu family is going to crush the Ling family. He frantically yells at them to find a way to get Sanson out of there. He tries to make a run for it, but his mother suddenly appears and blocks his path. With a stern expression, his mother asks where he thinks he's off to again. His mom picks him up, saying he can't run off because his grandpa ordered him to be brought to the meeting. With that, she carries him away while his sisters watch, extremely worried. The redhead asks what they should do, and the white-haired sister says they need to come up with a plan first. At that moment, another maid shows up and calls for the two of them to help the butler with the arrangements. The two young women agree, even though they're still on edge. In the hall, the grandfather thanks the families and announces that only 3 young ladies are compatible with his grandson. The 3 family representatives bow, honored by the opportunity for a union. The elder states that skill is essential, and the winner of a special test will marry the boy. Our hero is confused, having no idea what this skill test is all about. We then see the 3 families chosen for the test: Yi, Nangong, and the Ling family. The grandfather grumbles that the Ling family sent a concubine's daughter to the event. With fury in his eyes, he thinks that he only allowed it to divert their attention. The protagonist gets anxious, thinking he can only count on his 2 sisters now. He then buries his face into his mother, which really gets on her nerves. She yells at him, but our young man just thinks he's drinking some milk to calm down. The grandfather laughs, telling her to let him drink more since his development is unusual. He adds that when the MC grows up and gets tested in the capital, she'll get all the credit. Exhausted, the mother complains that he's a little, bottomless troublemaker who only knows how to drink. Elsewhere, the butler enters a room where the head of the family is sitting alone. The servant then informs him that the Ling girl will perish in the test, and their entire party will be eliminated. With a satisfied look, the family leader says the plan is simply excellent. Overhearing the sinister plot, our hero goes into a full-blown panic, thinking about his sister Sansan. Min White-haired sister is rushing through the mansion's hall with a tray of fruit. Headed sister is also hurrying, complaining that she's too busy and has no way to slip away. And so, the two sisters rush through the hall, carrying out their duties. They then look at each other, extremely worried, wondering what they're going to do now. The scene then shifts to the Liu family's private arena, which looks like a massive colosseum. The grandfather, the mother holding our young man, and the butler are all seated in a private box, watching everything. The butler then announces that the test is about to begin and calls for the young lady from the Nangong family. From their seats, they watch as the first contender enters the enormous arena. We see the young lady from the Nangong family, in her gothic dress, at the arena's entrance. The protagonist's grandfather praises the competitor, saying she is beautiful and skilled in combat. However, our hero's mother doesn't seem impressed by the girl's appearance at all. The elder says that not every noble girl grows up to be a prize like her. She agrees, adding that a daughter-in-law should be someone who can share their burdens in the future. The butler then calls for the second young lady, from the Yi family, to present herself in the arena. At that moment, a hand shoots up and a voice eagerly answers the call. Right after, a blonde girl in a Lolita dress runs excitedly to the center of the arena. She then approaches the other competitor with a big smile on her face. She bows to the family and formally introduces herself as Yi Zhuangshuan. Seeing this, the protagonist's mother remarks that the young lady certainly knows how to play the part to win favor. The butler then announces the third daughter from the Ling family, named Ling Piao Piao. A girl with short hair and simple clothes begins to walk toward the arena. She calmly enters the area, looking very different from the other two competitors. With that, the three contenders are finally gathered in the grand combat arena. Our hero's grandfather and mother watch the three girls with serious expressions. Our hero wonders if this is the person Sansan was with and how she ended up here. In the arena, the three young women face each other, ready to begin the skill test. The short-haired girl then gets the other two's attention with a simple "E." In response, the blonde girl points at her angrily, asking if that's any way for a noble lady to act. Hanging upside down, our MC seems pretty stressed about this whole bizarre situation. Then we see the short-haired girl holding him by the foot, like it's no big deal. With a smile, she calls him hubby, and says she'll be under his care from now on. Our guy flips out and yells at her to put him down right now. At that moment, his three sisters show up, screaming for the girl to let go of our MC. The three sisters point at the girl, their faces filled with pure rage. The youngest sister then cheerfully calls out her brother's name, along with the other two. Seeing all this, our protagonist wonders how things got so messed up. Flashing back a few hours, we see the Liu family arena where the skill test was taking place. There, the purple-haired girl faces off against a demonic boar that's charging at her full tilt. The young woman then readies her sword, which begins to glow. She grips the hilt of the weapon tightly, preparing to strike the beast in front of her. With a single slash, the girl easily cleaves the monster clean in two. After the battle, she stands in the arena with the remains of the creature behind her. The grandfather then remarks that she's pretty skilled, especially since she hasn't had a divine awakening and is just using the family sword. Our guy reflects on the girl's strength and how she's fighting over an arranged marriage. With that, the second round begins, and the representative from the Yi family enters the arena. The blonde girl now faces a demonic boar that's even more terrifying than the last one. With wicked grin and glowing eyes, she tells the beast to go to a better place. Her power directly attacks the creature's brain with a strange pink energy. The beast gets confused by the attack and starts running in circles around the arena. Influenced by the power, the animal runs wild away from the blonde competitor. It ends up slamming full force into the arena wall with tremendous power. The impact is so brutal that the creature is taken out instantly. The beast's body then lies lifeless on the arena floor. Our hero and his sisters watch the whole thing, completely blown away by the girl's power. The competitor then waves to the crowd and announces that she's cleared the challenge. The MC's mom then asks the butler what that strange power was. He explains that it's her family's divine awakening, a type of mental interference. This worries the woman, who thinks the girl will manipulate the whole family in the future. The grandfather says it's no problem, as long as a divine awakening is of a higher level. Our hero thinks about how his mom's milk boosts his power and wonders about the secrets these noble families are hiding. Shortly after, the next participant from the Ling family is announced and enters the arena. The purple-haired girl watches the new competitor enter the arena with a serious expression. The blonde girl taunts her opponent, saying the Ling family must have been scraping the bottom of the barrel. At this, the MC's mom gets angry and calls the blonde competitor a rude little brat. The little guy's sisters get very worried when they see who is with the Ling family. They watch from above, nervous expressions on their faces. Then we see that their youngest sister is dressed as a maid among the Ling group. The protagonist panics because he knows if the Ling competitor fails, his sister will go down with her. The short-haired girl now faces a giant demonic boar in the combat arena. Our young man is shocked and wonders if just standing there is all she's going to do. The grandfather and the butler exchange mischievous glances, looking like they've got a sinister plan in mind. The huge monster prepares to attack the girl while the family watches from their luxury box. Our guy's mom gets scared, realizing the plan was for the beast to take out the competitor. The grandfather explains that to eliminate a target, you have to make the competition look like an accident. With that, he points to the arena, telling his daughter in law to just watch what happens. The beast charges full speed in the girl's direction, but she remains completely still. Then, with a smug smile, the competitor wonders if that's all the beast has got. The monster leaps to attack, but she conjures a blue defensive magic to block the assault, stopping the beast's attack with just one finger. At that moment, she uses her power and lands a punch with a blue aura right on the monster. The girl stares down the beast with a look full of determination. The creature then roars in pain as a fiery energy starts pouring out of its body. The animal is completely engulfed in flames as the competitor backs away. The grandfather and the butler are dumbfounded by the scene they just witnessed in the arena. The beast starts to glow and evolves into a C-rank mutant boar king. The grandfather seems to understand the situation while the rest of the family just watches. The blonde competitor laughs, satisfied that with the monster's evolution, she has one less rival. But the purple-haired girl looks thoughtful, observing everything with a very serious expression. Seeing the situation, our protagonist and his sisters are in a total panic. Our hero thinks that to avoid being discovered, he'll have to use his secret move. With that, he starts feeding from his mother, who complains about his terrible timing. Right after, he spits out all the milk he had just drunk. Furious, his mom pushes him away and yells at him for spitting all over her again. The liquid flies across the arena and catches the attention of the monster down below. The creature then smells the essence and immediately becomes interested in it. That the giant boar rushes towards the woman, surrounded by a pink energy. His mom is completely shocked with no idea what's happening again. She gets ready to toss the MC, and the two sisters prepare to fight the approaching beast. But the Ling girl says to leave it to her as a strange power forms in her hand. Using her power, she summons several thorns that shoot out of the ground at high speed. The thorns then wrap around the boar's body, completely immobilizing it. The grandfather and the butler watch it all with surprised expressions on their faces. The mom is also stunned and wonders what kind of wood-based divine awakening that is. The grandfather says that it's interesting, but still not as good as his grandson's, though he acknowledges the girl's power. The young competitor then looks at her hand, now covered in red thorns, and wonders what this power is called. The purple-haired girl also seems surprised to see her opponent's ability. As for the blonde competitor, she's disgusted and says there's no way she'd want to be wrapped up in that. The grandfather explains that this ability can take down higher-rank creatures by draining their essence. The power drains all the life from the boar, turning it into a skeleton. The butler asks what to do with her, but the head of the family says he has a better idea. He then looks at his grandson, who is in his mother's arms with his two sisters. His plan is to make the girl his grandson's bride, to get his hands on the Ling family's dowry. Her little sisters scream for her to let our hero go. Haired sister asks the youngest how she ended up with the huntress. Sanzin looks like she's about to cry and can't answer. Because of this, the redhead starts to lecture the little one for disappearing. The little one feels the light taps she got from her older sister. Our protagonist then cuts them off, saying that now is not the time. That the redhead's Ling family is about to be completely wiped out. The huntress replies with a smile, saying she already knew that. Our boy and his sisters are stunned. The girl from the Tang family says she doesn't have much time and needs to tell them something important. They all listen intently. She asks if they've already awakened their systems. The protagonist and his sisters are frozen by the question, but they all nod their heads, confirming it. She explains that they must have gained strange powers and abilities. His future wife smiles and asks if they really believe in miracles. In a cute way, they all shake their heads no. The future wife hugs little Sanzin and says that every miracle comes with a terrible price. The Treolings is in shock. Little Sanzin snuggles into the huntress's lap. Our main character then asks what she means. The young woman reveals that the little girl lost her beloved siblings and was left all alone. In a flash, little Sanzin sees her sisters being taken away. All alone, she discovers that her divine awakening was the power to steal abilities. With this, she could steal the divine awakening and skills of other people. And so in this chaotic world, she became a villain feared by everyone. But in the end, she found a way to go back to the past, giving up all her power, just to return and save the people she loved most. MC is shocked and asks if little Sansan was really reborn. The small girl just nods shyly. The huntress laughs and says the little girl is a ruthless demon. Sansan, in her past life as a powerful villain, was feared by all. The young wife says that the system interface is a mental projection from Sansan. The three siblings look at their system screens, trying to understand. She continues, explaining that every time they use the system, it drains Sansan's power. As she says this, a seated little Sansan releases an aura. The divine awakening abilities given to them are the result of her research. In her past life, she went through near-fatal divine activations to achieve this. Our hero then asks about his divine awakening and how she got it. The young woman explains that Sansan sacrificed her power to save him from danger. To do that, she infiltrated the capital's inner circle and defeated the head of the Mu family. She had to fight and go through many hardships to obtain that power. With this revelation, they all run over to Sansan. They all pull little Sansan into a group hug. All huddled together, they get emotional in a beautiful, sweet scene. Little Sansan cries with happiness to be with her siblings again. We see a shady-looking bar as a strange tune plays. Inside the joint, there's a blonde girl pole dancing. Just then, a blonde guy shows up and tries to hit on her. The girl with heterochromia thanks the guy, calling him Oni. Suddenly, the woman swings her leg up near the blonde guy's face. Without a second thought, the guy sniffs her foot, thinking it's amazing. Right after, a green-haired guy comes over and asks if Blondie has lost his mind. He then gets serious and realizes something is wrong with him. At that moment, the guy starts to feel dizzy. The duo then reveals their true intentions with an evil smile. The blonde guy begs them not to do anything to him. In a basement, we see Blondie tied up while the woman from before torments him. Then strikes an intimidating pose and smiles at the tied-up guy. A mysterious butler appears and says he'd better spill everything, without hiding any details. The butler puts on an intimidating face. The blonde guy pleads for his life and explains that his mission was to stop a wave of beasts. The old man tells him to keep talking. The guy says that after defeating the beasts, he got some money. The old man gets furious and says he shouldn't have messed with his son. Desperate, the blonde guy says it wasn't him, that it was three masked people. The old man gets curious and asks who they were, where they came from, and what their names were. The guy says he doesn't know because he was far away and only saw 2 girls and a child. The old man is shocked to hear it was 2 girls and a child. He then asks what team the guy is on and who his captain is. The old man in the suit is startled to hear he's part of the red pomegranate team. With this information, he remembers a portal with very powerful creatures. The man then turns and tells the woman from before to take care of the guy. The prisoner screams in desperation, saying he broke his promise to let him go. Mercilessly, the blonde guy gets smacked in the face with a platform shoe. The woman then keeps her foot on his face. The old man says he promised not to torment him, but he needed to make an example out of him. He turns and leaves the basement. In an instant, he appears on top of a building in the middle of the night. The man walks across the rooftop. He looks down, seeing some cracks on the ground. The old man crouches down and starts analyzing the cracks. He runs his hand over the spot. Suddenly, the ground starts to glow with a strange energy. He goes to another part of the building to check it out. After analyzing it, he comes to a conclusion. We see a flashback of him holding the protagonist's little sister while she was injured. He then thinks that this is important and he needs to confirm his theory.